Hello guys, I am back from another video and today we're about what if Belle was a B.O.W. So in the last video we talked about how after they finally got back to Aurario and also after the whole events of what happened in that, demonic ass forest, they were bringing back all the souvenirs that they got from that expedition and also telling Loki about what happened and also about these weird monsters, aka the infected monsters or the B.O.W. monsters. So, after finally getting some rest and also deciding to throw a party, as for Belle would be brought to one of the dead Loki familia members' rooms to be resting. And for a certain Amazon, aka Tione, she decided to comfort Izuku, but she was told to go downstairs to maybe have a bit of banter and also eat with their friends. So, after Bell basically wakes up, he would get all of his gear, specifically the tyrant suit that he was meant to use when it's finally time for him to, start enacting missions. But after wearing it, he has to go downstairs to try and find a way to get out of there. But he was noticed by Finn as they started having a confrontation. So, after basically bodying not Belle, I meant Bet, they, or more specifically, one of them specifically, Tione, would calm him down. He would decide to, as they started talking. After talking about what happened about the whole forest thing, Bell would explain everything, including that his world doesn't have magic, and also those monsters are infected B.O.Ws. After learning about those, Loki would have a proposition. Either he would join or leave. So yeah, we basically ended off that episode and in that cliffhanger. So yeah, so let's talk about what happens next. So, not really Izuku, I meant Bell, goddammit. After Bell was given that proposition, Bell would just say this. Sure, but I'm only working with you for now. But if you dare to try and betray me, as his arm would start deforming, transforming into a large, almost tyrant-like arm, or more specifically, an arm that resembles almost like a burned person's arm or something like that, but more gigantic and shit. As Bell would say this, I will crush you. As Loki would say this, sure, and also, I'm a goddess, so try not to mess with me, okay? As Bell would say this, you're a goddess. As he would start looking up and down, as he would say this, are you sure about that? As she would say this, hey, don't question me. And besides, I'm going to be your goddess now, so, by the way, if because you're joining my familia, you should probably take off your shirt. As Belle would say this, why exactly? As she would say this, it's for you to join our familia. As he would say this, very well then. After taking off his shirt and everybody seeing his, modified body, which Tione would start, bleeding from the nose, and also, apparently in the polls, you decide to go for this ship. You decide to go for Tione, which I'm pretty surprised because I thought all of you are gonna go pick for Eyes. Or maybe Aphysis or Ryu, because Aphysis, best girl in my opinion. Don't try and change my mind. My mind is set for, Aphysis. So yeah, this is going to be the ship now, being Tione, so yeah, let's just continue the video. So, after basically taking off his shirt, Belle would be told to go on the couch, as for Loki, she would drop a piece of her blood, now cementing that he's a member of the Loki familia. Bet would say this, I can't believe you decided to join this group, even though I basically just beaten you down. As Belle would just say this, what did you say? Did you think that you could actually beaten me? As you would start growing to immense size, becoming the same size as a regular tyrant, like maybe the Nemesis, as Bet would basically start getting afraid because after being beaten last time, he would just say this. Ugh, whatever then. As you would start leaving, as Belle would just transform back, as Tione would say this. Whoa, that was impressive, and also, um, can you please tell me about why you, as Belle would say this, why you what? As she would say this, well, I know I kind of stole your mother's coat, and he would say this, don't worry. Besides, I would just let you keep it. You actually kind of remind me of her, okay? As she would say this, really? As he would say this, yeah, you're actually quite kind. And as he would start tearing up, as Belle would say this, stop with the teary eyes. As she would say this, don't worry, um, anyway, Loki, did you check out his stat? As for Loki, she would go like, what the heck is this guy? And what the heck are these stats? As Belle would say this, why are you looking at... As, even though he doesn't understand it, when he looked over and sees, well, Loki basically shaking in the corner, he would say this, why are you like that? As she would say this, Belle, you're overpowered as hell. And I'm not even joking. As everybody would just look as they would say this. Wait, what do you mean by that, Loki? Says one of them being Finn. As she would say this. You're, as the stats would say that he's super strong. And his level is just 1. As she would say this. What the heck are you? As he would say this. Well, I am a B.O.W. A weapon. As he would start clenching his fist. As she would say this. Anyway, we should probably get you some good gear. As Belle would say this. Don't worry. I'll just have my usual this. As he would, you know that certain, trope where they basically just, lift their arm as, like, a piece of their clothing basically just, flows with the wind, or his arm? Basically similar to that, but except it's with his coat. As he would say this. I'll just wear this for now. After all, this was meant to be my suit, back when it was supposed to be a weapon. As one of them would say this, being Bet. Whatever. Hey, Finn. As Finn would say this. Yeah? As he would say this. Hey, let's continue. I really want to eat again. Including that good-ass beer. As he would say this. Oh, yeah, let's go. As everybody starts going back to the dining hall, as for Izuku... Not Izuku, I meant Belle, goddammit. As Belle would say this. Tione? Are you going as well? As Tione would say this. Oh, I'm gonna be going later. How about you? As Belle would say this. I'll eat some other time. I'm just gonna get some rest. So, after being told that, well, his little, second, his new room, or the room that he's gonna be staying in, is right down the hall, upstairs. After doing that, he would basically go to sleep. The next day comes as everybody would be told that this is their new member, aka Belle. So, after everybody introduced themselves to Belle, they would also be told by Loki that Belle should probably get some weapons, even though she knows that Belle is basically overpowered as hell and he doesn't need a weapon, but she does want to see Belle have a bit of a weapon in case if his powers are basically gone, he would have an advantage. So, One of them specifically, a girl, aka the Sword Princess, aka, wait for a sec. Eyes would, well, let him join her in her, finding her a new sword. So Belle would start going with her to Hephaestus's, little shop. Everybody's basically looking at him because of his discolored skin and weird looking eye, even though he's, wearing a mask. Um, Everybody's just basically looking at him because he looks pretty weird. I mean, he's wearing a metal mask and wearing this almost weird type of clothing, as they would be brought to, to that elevator, as they would be brought to that little shop. More specifically, the shop where Hephaestus basically just sells over stuff. As Hephaestus would be there, as Hephaestus would say this: "Oh, hello there, Miss Wallenstein." As she would say this: "Hello there, Hephaestus." As she would look over and see Belle, as she would say this: Nice meeting you here. Um, who is this guy? Eyes?" As Eyes would say this: "Oh, this is a new member of our familia. Mind introducing yourself?" As he would bow, as Belle would say this: "The name's Belle. Belle Nikitich." As she would say this: "Oh, hello there, Mr. Nikitich." As he would say this: "I would just be rather be called Belle." As she would say this: "Oh, I guess then, Belle. Why are you here exactly?" As one of them specifically says this, being, Eyes. Eyes would say, "Oh, he's been looking for a new weapon, or at least his first weapon at least, and I've been also looking for a new sword." As she would say this: "Oh, how about you go to my workshop later? I can certainly make a sword for you, and for your friend over here." As he would say this: "Well, thank you, Miss, Hephaestus." As she would say this: "You're welcome." So, after a while of basically just waiting for Hephaestus to be done with her selling, she would bring them to their workshop, or her workshop. And also some of the familia members would also start looking at Belle because of his clothing, and also sensing that, well, he is definitely not human at the slightest. So, when she brings both of them to her workshop, she would say this: "Hey, Mr. Bell over there." As he would say this: "Oh, yeah, Miss Hephaestus? Why are you wearing a mask?" she says. As he would say this: "Well, let's just say I have something weird about me." As he would take off his mask, revealing his almost disgusting ass eye, as she would say this: "Oh, ah, that was unexpected." As he would say this: "Yeah, I'm definitely not normal. Not in the slightest." As Eyes would say this: "I do agree with you, but please don't be hard on yourself." As he would say this: Yeah, okay. Anyway." As Hephaestus would say this: "Oh, yeah, and also, what is your preferred type of weapon, Mr. Bell?" As Bell would say this: My preferred type of weapon." As he would think, as he would say this outright: "Maybe a knife." As she would say this: "A knife? Just that?" As Bell would say this: "Yep, I just want to have a simple weapon. Or do you know how to make these type of weapons?" As he would grab some, blueprints. As she would look at them, as she would say this: "What the? I never seen anything like it. What are these things?" As Bell would just point, as he would say this: "Oh, that's an assault rifle." As she would say this: "An assault rifle?" As he would say this: "Yeah, it's basically just he would basically explain that guns are just, gunpowder and basically other shit." As she would say this: "I never thought of that. That sounds amazing. And I could make this, but I guess the knife would be easier for me because it's in my comfort zone. As Belle would say this. Sure then. As for a certain girl, aka Eyes, she would say this. Ahem. As for, wait for a second. As Hephaestus would say this. Oh yeah, I forgot. So, what do you want to have as your new sword, Miss Wallenstein, the Sword Princess? As she would say this. Probably a sword that's pretty strong. After all, my last sword got destroyed. As she would say this. Destroyed? But that was a high quality weapon that I made. As she would say this. Well, as Belle would say this. Let me explain. So, after hearing about what happened and during in their expedition, she would say this. So you're telling me that those monsters were... No way. As Belle would say this. Yeah, they're not monsters anymore. They're basically B.O.Ws just like me. As she would say this. B.O.W? As Ice would say this. There's no time to explain, so... Basically, they're just monsters, but much more powerful. As she would say this. So, Belle is a... As Belle would say this. No, not a monster. I mean, you could say that, but still. I'm what you call a tyrant. As one of them would say this. A tyrant? As Eyes would just look over. As Belle would explain. Tyrants are meant to be used as weapons. Biological weapons. Or in this case, a bodyguard. I was meant to be a soldier. A monster to destroy anything in my path. Meant to assassinate. Maybe even destroy an entire city or entire... I don't know. But after I was touched, after I was reminded that I was human by my mother, Dr. Nikitich, as Eyes would say this. Oh, so that woman that you called your mother, she was not actually your mother. As he would say this. Don't say it like that. As he would get mad, as the ground would shake, as both of them would be scared, as Belle would say this. I know that she wasn't my real mother, but she was real to me. Just, please don't say that, okay? Anyway, so when are those weapons gonna be finished? As for, if Isis still being scared, she would say this. Oh, maybe about, a few weeks. As Belle would say this. Good. As Belle would look over to Eyes. As Eyes would say this. Are you... As Belle would say this. Anyway. So, I should be leaving now. Let's go, Eyes. As Eyes would say this. Yeah, we should probably go now. As for, Hephaestus, she would say this. Okay, I'll be done with your swords very soon, okay? As Belle would say this. Thank you, Miss Hephaestus. As he would bow, as say this. No problem. As they started leaving. So, wait for a second. So, after they left, they started going to the city as everybody's basically just looking at Belle still wearing the mask. As one of them, specifically, Eyes would say this. So, do you want to eat? I mean, you've never even eaten ever since we first met you. As Belle would say this. Yeah, I'm kind of hungry. So, they decide to go to a food stall. As one of them would say this. Wait, why is a goddess here? As Belle would say this. Wait, a goddess? As he would look over, as he would see... Well, Hestia. Even though he's not a member of the, Hestia familia, she would look over as she would say this. Yeah, hello there. As Hestia would explain that the reason why she's basically working at a food stall is because she doesn't really have a familia, so she's trying to, make ends meet, even though she's a goddess. As Belle would say this, I see. As she would look over, as she would say this, who are you? You're definitely new here. As Belle would say this, oh yeah, I'm kind of new here, and I'm also a new member of the Loki familia. As she would say this, gosh darn it! As he would say this, why? As she would say this, well, I wanted you to join my familia. As he would say this, um, sorry, but I'm already now in the, you know. As she would say this, gosh darn it. She would start a little bit of crying. She would start, you know, everybody, or more specifically, Belle and not Belle and Hestia. I meant Belle and Eyes would both see that Hestia is starting to spewing out tears as she would say this. Anyway, what do you want to order? As Belle would just say this. Maybe those mashed potatoes over there. As for, well, she would also order that as well. So, after ordering their meal, they would start moving back to their mansion. As everybody is just looking at them, as a certain girl, aka Tione, would start to become jealous. Seeing them just eating food together, things that they're dating, including a certain goddess, aka Loki, as she would say this. Is he making moves on my girl? She would start getting a little bit mad, as for Bet, he would not care, and also, Finn, he would actually feel kind of hmm, Belle and Eyes. That's a interesting combination. So yeah, after that day, they would also have dinner, and Belle would be also a part of this dinner, basically sitting in one of the corners of the table, as everybody's just basically just celebrating and also drinking some beer. As for Loki, she would also start get drunk, as Belle would say this. No thanks. I don't want any ale or anything like that. As one of these, Loki familia members, let's just say a random member would say this. Oh, come on, maybe just have another, maybe just have a little sip or something. As you would say this. Sorry, but I'm not really ready to drink that. As Bet would say this. Oh, are you perhaps a coward? As Belle would say this. No, it's because they probably might rampage the entire city. As one of them would say this, being, wait for a second. Finn would say this. So, you're not going to be drinking some ale because, as he would say this, yep, I would probably be destroying the city if I get drunk a little. So no thanks. As he would start eating a bit of the chicken leg, as everybody, or more specifically Tione, is still looking at one of his eyes. As she would say this, so is it painful your eye, or as Belle would say this, no, it's not really painful. In fact, it just feels like a normal eye. Actually, I don't know how to explain that, but still. As she would say this, so why is your eye like that? As Belle would say this, well, it's the mutation. Most tyrants like me, actually most B.O.Ws like me, actually have this type of mutation. Maybe even others, like for example, multiple limbs or their legs becoming backwards, for an example. As one of them being, Finn would say this. Really? Then, can you explain more? As Belle would say this. Well, as you start chewing on this chicken leg, as he would say this. The reason why my eye also doesn't have eyelids is because there's this protective mucus that is basically secreting all the time, keeping my eye fresh and not dry. As one of them specifically says this, being, Tione. So that's why your eye felt slimy. As you would say this. Wait, how do you know that? As she would say this. Oh, nothing, haha. As Belle would say this. Anyway, do you have any other questions, Mr. As he would say this. Oh, just call me Finn. As he would say this. Very well, Finn. As Finn would say this. Well, I also have another question. What happened to your skin? As Belle would say this. Well, being a tyrant, it's mostly typical to have, mostly have, pale skin. Or maybe even dark skin or something like that. So that is why I have, this almost grayish skin. As he would say this. So, is it really typical to have these type of, mutations? As he would say this. Yeah. Unless if you're rare, that would mean, like for an example, you will have a normal person, but with enhanced strength, skills, and maybe even senses. As Beth would say this. Really? As Belle would say this. Yeah, but it's quite rare. Unless if you're talking about the Las Plagas, which is also a part of my body. As one of them would say this, being, Loki, as he would say this. What? As Finn would say this. Interesting. Maybe we continue talking maybe later. As he would say this. Yeah, we should probably just finish dinner now. So, after finishing dinner, Belle would start going back to his room as Finn would say this. Hey, Belle. As Belle would say this. Oh, hello there, Mr. Finn. As he would say this. So, maybe we can continue talking later, or maybe tonight, or maybe even tomorrow. As Belle would say this. How about tomorrow? I need to get some sleep already. As he would say this. Oh, cool. See ya. As he would start going back to his room, as he would hear sketching, or writing, one of the two. As Belle would start going to his, bed, as he would basically flop down, as he would fall asleep. But he would not notice that somebody is also going into the room. It, or someone, seems to have almost a feminine figure, but she would also down onto the, bed, sleeping on top of sleeping on top of Belle. So, yeah, this is going to be the end of this episode. So, this is going to be the end of this episode, and so, I hope you liked the video, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye-bye!